Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from the group 4 are going to continue the discussions about language and educations. We have discussed about simultaneous versus successive exposure and similar versus dissimilar language structures by group 3, if I'm not wrong, as factors that influence the development of individuals' literacy. Now, I'm going to talk about the last factor that can influence the development of individuals' literacy, which is the convergence and divergence scripts. Researchers argue that convergence and divergence scripts of the two or more languages varieties have influence in the individual's development of literacy. However, research have not clarified whether this picture is more likely giving positive effect or positive transfer across languages and literacies. Therefore, further research and settings are needed. For example, like two languages with different writing systems, one language with two writing systems, and or two languages with one writing systems is needed to keep the research to clarify the role of this picture in biliterate development. And one of the reasons why understanding or having the understanding of the role of particular scripts in literacy acquisitions is difficult is because of the large of number and complexity of contextual pictures have a tendency to mask any possible effect of more or less convergence with alternative scripts. For example, Wiley argues in his chapter that standardizations and the orthographic planning, for example, the development, renovation, reform, etc., of a writing system that often accompanies it is more often motivated by political goals than by pedagogical criteria or concerns for equal education access. Mary McGroarty, in the other hand, proves that how learners' and teachers' attitudes toward languages and their varieties, especially in their written form, have direct implications for learners' literate development. She demonstrates that in the acquisitions of literacy, we need to have or understand the community values and traditions about how to approach text, as well as cultural values and traditions about text and topic development, and contextual elements such as these political motivations, language attitudes, cultural and community values appear to overshadow consideration of the media through which they are obtained. Thus, the discussions turns to the next topic about context.
As you know, biliteracy is a term for the ability to read and write proficiently and fluently into language. Continuum of oral literacy contexts have alignment in the continuum spoken written language in the development of biliteracy and show that the oral and literacy complement each other are related. McKay showed that the literacy view is isolated by individual skills related to their cognitive development and a literacy society which is fundamentally different, or they thinking they are more ethical or civilized than the oral society. However, G 1992 replaced this view by the recognition that literacy practice are only part of a broader social culture practice that involves conversation, interaction, values, and beliefs. And the last is the ideological model, which is literacy is seen as a social and culture phenomenon, and culture and people are not so much differentiated by whether they are literate or not, but rather by variation in their particular mix of spoken and learned language channels and function. And the last is one of the implications of this view for first language and second language learners is that the way in which context makes spoken language use and literacy will affect that student use and development of language and literacy. Mackay provide a number of examples as described in the previous section. This has happened for the Mexican language minorities as well as the working class African American and white communities in the United States. Similarly, in the introductory narrative vignettes of this chapter, Victoria does not use casual literacy, limited use of mere literacy, and Abriendo Camino's participant moderate use of Spanish literacy. That's all can be all associated with a particular mix of spoken first and second language, and channels and function of literacy in their respective culture and societies.
The second of the continuum of the literate context, the monolingual bilingual continuum, also finds a parallel in other continua, in particular the L1 L2 transfer continuum and the similar language structures continuum. So as mentioned before, the literacy skill is viewed as an individual skill, but in this continuum the emphasis is on the context in which learning and teaching occur rather than on the individual's language and literacy development. So the focus is not on their individual skill development but on the whole class. And then the next is the monolingual bilingual continuum underlines that the degree to which particular context may involve the use of one or both of the learner's language varieties affects the development of their skill. Either in bilingual or multilingual societies, the use of different languages is functionally distributed in terms of domains, social meanings, etc. To elaborate more, Brickford has stated some of the social factors that might affect the variety of language. They are age, social class, race or ethnicity, and gender. Freeman and McElhenney review discourse and instructional features of gender-differentiated language and suggest that these differences provide both a reflection of and an opportunity to challenge and transform societal norms. Nichols also explores the acts of identity represented by use of a Creole language in home and community and the social meanings associated with use of a standard variety in a formal educational settings. So to conclude the whole material that we have been explained, the whole video is that different language varieties have different functions and social meaning, either in a multilingual or monolingual context. I think that's all for the video. Thank you for watching. I hope you guys can understand what we have been explained. We apologize for any mistakes in our material. Any critics and suggestions are very welcomed. Thank you. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.